Hello, Peru. Hello, Rotterdam. Hello, Pennsylvania. Love from Romania, TGT Nation. Hello from the Netherlands. Hello from Ohio. Hello from India. Incredible. Hi, everyone. What's up,
Yes.
guys? Good to see you.
Oh yeah.
Everyone should know. Everyone should know that we do plan. We talk throughout the week, and we're messaging each other all the time about what we want to do. But when we get here, we just jump in. There's no like on purpose. Part of the thing is like we all just walk into a room together and then let something happen. So, hello guys. Good
Yeah,
to see
yeah,
you
that's the vibe we
also.
want.
Very happy to see you. Uh, The Upper Light, great title. The Upper Light, a remedy for humanity. It is clear to anyone who has a pulse and is not totally numbed themselves out to life that it's becoming harder to live. Doesn't matter if you're rich. Actually, this is something uniting. It doesn't matter if you're rich or if you're poor. There's this nagging, this emptiness that keeps creeping in a world where it seems like, not only it seems like, in a world full of food, full of land, full of water, full of air, full of oil, full of money, full of resources. There's a nagging sense of emptiness, this thorn in our side that hopefully we understand what it's doing. It's making us realize that we need something non-material. So today on the Great Transition, we're going to dive into this topic, dive into where we can find a remedy, what the wisdom of Kabbalah has to already wrote, what these books came to us from the future and already told us what's going on here. If we look at life, if we look at our development and what we've been through, we see that everything that humanity, every endeavor, I just saw you guys saw that Sam Altman, who started his nonprofit, now just made like a couple billions of dollars, like going for
Mm,
profit. Okay.
That
Doesn't
was
matter. I don't want
that
to
was
go
hard to
down
see
the
coming.
AI. Yeah, I don't want to go down the
okay.
AI. But
Is this
remember
an
when we did
AI
the Sam?
tangent right at the start of the show?
No,
This is not like
sorry.
you, Seth.
I
This
That's
is
not
I
what he's doing.
digress.
No.
No, remember we did the show about Sam Bankman-Fried, who was this big guy, and he wants to
uh-huh.
make billions of dollars in
Right.
Bitcoin in order to, be
Just he
Yeah.
just
noble.
wants to be very philanthropic. Yeah,
We
well, what's up
called
with
it the
Sam?
second we heard the story. All of our bullshit meters were like, "Come on!" And a couple weeks
Hmm.
later, it, the whole thing, the whole house of cards, fell. So if we look at humanity, if we look at every grand idea, every noble intention that humanity s- engages in, inevitably it ends up corrupted. Anyone you pick, if we trace it, we'll see that it ends up corrupted, and it's by design. Like take gender equality. Great idea. 100 years
Okay.
ago in the United States, there was this suffragette movement that women should. Great concept. Women should have same rights as men. Play it out 100 years.
Yeah.
OnlyFans. It's like no
Yeah.
responsibility for your.
Okay, okay. What you're saying now, this is hard to show. I don't think
Seems really easy to me, but okay.
everyone can see what you're saying. But yeah, basically, what begins as something that seems to be, like you said, noble, equality, moving us toward maybe more egalitarian things like that. At the end of the day, if it's not calibrated towards where nature wants to take us, which is where we step in, where the wisdom of Kabbalah steps in, then ultimately, even if it started well, egoism will just kind of seep into it, and you'll see all kind of mutating forms that originated from something that should have been good, would have should had was good or something, and then it becomes just co-opted and corrupted, and typically causes more harm than good. I mean, social media. That's that's an easier
The
thing,
internet
right?
is super obvious.
Yeah, I mean, the internet, social media. I mean, social media, you can connect with people from your school and, your reunions, and it will connect the world and everything. And today, we're battling and fighting addiction, depression, virtual shaming and virtual bullying and other
But look
other
how much we
issues.
learned.
Yeah.
Look how much we learned as a result of that. I mean, there's no way we would have been able to foresee the things like example Facebook that where we are today, or where women want, where women want their rights, which it seems like, okay, yeah, maybe there definitely should be rights, that there should be equal, but the chain of events that occur as a result of that, there's no way humanity could have seen coming the things
Yes.
that
Good point. That's a good point. Uh, like because when we speak about it, maybe it sounds like, oh, so we shouldn't have done that or something like that. It's just the
Right.
unfolding of human evolution, that kind of like, this is how we learn learn what's right from wrong, or
It's how we learn.
mostly just
Yeah.
what's wrong. Yeah, yeah, it's how
Well,
we learn.
mainly what's wrong.
but
Yeah.
but yeah, but
So our,
basically,
our
until,
essence,
yeah, go ahead.
so our essence drives us to explore, drives us to improve. I'm sure Sam Altman, Sam Bankman-Fried, these guys can't stop themselves. Like Elon, right? He's like running to Mars. He can't stop himself. But we understand what happens. It's very clear, like Bala Sulam says in the Last Generation, for example. You want to create a world where
Who's Bala
everyone takes
Sulam?
care of.
Just for those who
This
may
is a
not know.
Kabbalah podcast on the Kabbalahinfo channel. If you want to know, we'll tell you all about it. Sign up for our courses. This is a place where this is a podcast where we talk about, we don't just observe what's going on in the world and comment on things going on in the world. We're looking at them through a spiritual lens, through the lens of the wisdom of Kabbalah. You guys just said humanity couldn't have seen that coming, but the Kabbalists saw it all coming and already wrote about it. It's
Yeah.
not hocus pocus. We want to talk about what are those systems and why it happens like this. Why it's not actually, quote unquote, bad that it's happening. It's, it's not bad that a dog barks. That's what a dog does. A dog dogs. And this creature right here, who's this monkey with a prefrontal cortex, this giant prefrontal cortex, it's clear what he's going to do. It's not a surprise. If anyone is surprised by anything that's happening in the world, then they don't understand life well enough. However, if that's the case and it's possible to study these things, then let's study them. Let's understand them so that we can understand what we can do about it, because it's not a death wish. Life is not a death wish. You're gonna uh, give women these rights, and then all of a sudden, like, you're not gonna have, you let that play itself out. You'll have no, almost no families left. Population decreases. People are filled with depression. You want to give everyone the access to all the information that humanity ever had. You make the internet, and it's just turns into a place where every single one of us is tracked. Everything we buy, everything we look at, everywhere we go, we're all basically digital slaves. So, is there an alternative route? Why, first of all, why is it all happening? Second of all, where's it all heading? And let's also say, from the wisdom of Kabbalah, there's no such real thing here as like that some of these things are bad or quote unquote like mistakes or something about that. It's just it's a part of our process of development in order to understand who we are. That's part of it, is understanding who we are.
Can Trump
Uh,
bring the upper light? That, I think that's a question in the
Can
comments. No,
Trump
it's not.
bring the upper light?
Is there such a question in the comments?
No, there's not. There's not. There's not.
Okay.
It'd be a good one though. It'd be a good one though. I mean, the question really is, what? First of all, what is this upper light? I'm sure you're gonna get to that, because the title is still pretty cool. You've set the stage now a little bit for like some weird stuff's going on, but we are kind of in a time where, yeah, there's gonna be some elections. There's wars happening everywhere. I mean, I don't know how many times we have to remind our viewers and ourselves about what's actually going on in the world, but maybe it is worthwhile. I mean, Ukraine and Russia is still going down pretty hard, and that even has some new stories in it. What's happening here in the Middle East is also obviously huge, especially if you're keeping up with what's happening. You see that things are happening more and more. So it's just like wild. It's wild. And what's happening in the States, and forget about it. What's happening in Europe right now with all the the asylum seekers and the immigrants coming in, and how, the way countries are reacting to that, how Germany reacted, I don't know, what was it, 10 years ago? Yeah, come on in. And now there's like a hard stop. It's like these big changes. A lot
Yeah.
of things are happening. And it feels like just, I don't know, from the side, it just feels like stressful. I mean, even if you're not personally in it, somehow it's just, there's just, it doesn't,
Just
nothing's
the
sitting right.
amount of disruption, yeah, is
Disruption,
just
yeah.
phenomenal. Phenomenal. And yet at the same time, the world, at least for now, I mean, this could change really quickly, but at least for now, a majority, a big portion of the population still kind of by inertia, just like, people are still kind of just trying to live their life and live in the old formulas. Okay, you gotta grow up, and you gotta go to university and get a degree, and figure out how to get into the workforce and so on. And the truth is, we're
401k,
we're in a
house.
world where this old world is already in its demise, and then and a new world still hasn't, it doesn't the new world still doesn't have a shape and form, but the world is in transformation, in flux, in a state of limbo, and it's gonna be a ride. Yeah, I think the
Well, it's not
next
easy.
10 years
you
are
know what
gonna
else
be
is
super disruptive and transformative and interesting and precarious as well. Yeah.
so let's say that when Genghis Khan raped entire villages and chopped off people's hands and like there's never a shortage of or the Black
So
Plague.
nice of you to
Like
bring it up, Seth.
there's never been a shortage of just bad stuff happening,
Yes, yes,
earthquakes
yes.
and floods and all that, right? So as
Human
epic
history
and biblical
rife with
as
suffering in so many
biblical as all
ways.
these things feel, there's never been a shortage of these things.
Yeah.
What changes the most is us. That's what's changing. We have there's that expression that to the righteous it seems like a mountain, and to the wicked it seems like a hair's breadth.
Right.
Like if you if how would you explain that? Not just the verse, but how would you explain it
someone who
in relation to what we're talking
someone
about
who
here?
actually knows, is well acquainted with the problem, sees that the problem is actually a lot bigger than it really is, and someone
But
who
regarding the
thinks that they
solution,
know.
how would you explain it? Like, what I'm trying to say is that there's always been problems in the world,
Yeah.
but today it's like we have so before people didn't have the ability. If you go back in time, most people didn't have 100 years ago. We said last week, 100 years ago, half the homes in the U.S. didn't have electricity. Well, what are
Yeah.
you going to do? There was no railroads, there was no cars, there was no streets. Like, what are you going to do
Oh, you
except
mean your
get
whole
up and,
life is just basically survival, kind of,
yeah,
and then when
yeah,
the lights
that's
go
it.
out, you need to go out too, kind of thing?
Yeah, when the sun
Yeah.
goes down, that's the end of the workday. There's
Yeah.
nothing else to do. And most people, I don't know what the actual number is, we could look it up. Most people until recently like never left like 10 miles beyond their home. And today
Also,
you guys are across the
Yeah, that would
ocean
be a
and we're
cool
sitting here talking
statistic.
yeah,
That'll be an interesting one to look at. Yeah. Yeah,
whenever
it's a
you
good
brought
point.
this up, when we were talking about our like doing our little discussion that we have a couple of times a week for the show, you mentioned something like that, and it sparked something that I didn't bring it up earlier, but I want to bring it up now just because it puts our time a little bit in perspective about where we are. Like, you mentioned, as well you should have, that even just 100 years ago we didn't have electricity, so that makes a person a completely different kind of person. I mean, the thoughts that they have, the things that they want, the things that
Yeah.
they engage in throughout the day is completely different. No, say it before I get
No,
it.
I'm just saying we have such an interesting example right now. There's a hurricane, like a big one, I understand, coming to Florida, and it doesn't matter now who you are and who you vote for and whether you're left or right or black or white or whatever, rich or poor. You need to move because nature said so. You need to make sure that you're safe because nature said so. You need to now make sure that you are moving. All of a sudden, nature shows us its power. Then we go back to like that level of like animalistic, just beaten animal, just looking for a place to hide.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because in the last, especially 150 years, I would say, maybe even just the last 100 years, we it seems like we grew out of that. We make our own food. The food is in the supermarket. The food, everything you need is at your fingertips. We're going to create AIs that are going to create everything for us. We are foolishly thinking that we are out of nature's hands, and we grew out of nature's bosom, or however you want to say that.
We're
but
good. We're good.
yeah, like okay, we're good now, but this is not what's happening. Rather, we are given, and this speaks to Seth's point before. The human being is now coming to a point where we have some latitude, where we have some area where we can affect what is our trajectory, what is our direction for development, where is it that we want to go. And it's a kind of a game that nature is playing with us. But for so long, we've been just developing, just like the still level of development, the vegetative level of development, the animal kingdom. We've been developing in a very similar way, just kind of responding to, trying to live our life in accordance with nature's forces and being for the most part, subdued by nature's forces, dependent on nature's forces. And in the last 100 years, 150 years, it started to
Really
seem
suddenly.
like it was changing. But is it really changing, or is nature playing a more complicated game with us now? And
Well, this is exactly that's exactly it's just one little factoid kind of, but it's so huge if you really think about it, especially if you're already a parent. Then you can imagine the like mindset that you would be in. But even I'm just kind of looking at a chart right now. I think it's too small to even show, but it's basically the long run history of child mortality. And it was only just like about a couple hundred years ago, from even like, I don't know, it's here it marks from 300 BC. So let's say from 300 BC, but I'm sure it was even before that, it was the same. It just, from then there wasn't probably statistics, but it was almost 50% child mortality, and they didn't make it past.
Till when was that? Till when?
Until
2,000 years
about,
ago.
I don't know, until like 1800s.
What?
And then it
200
started-
years
And
ago.
then it started dropping down. And then it started dropping
From
down.
2,000
Nothing.
years until 200 years ago.
That's
So now it's at
nothing.
like
That's
0.3%,
insane.
and it used
Crazy.
to be like 50%. So I
Crazy.
mean, you have
Yeah.
like 10 kids, and half of them die when they're, before they even get to 50.
My grandmother's family was like that. It was
Yeah.
like known.
And
like
And
Just a
people
couple
are like
generations.
used to it. People are like, I mean, that's part of life for people
Part of
200
life.
years ago. And we're so, we live in such a, it's a very
Such a different time,
interesting.
but it was almost instant. I mean, in the timeline of humanity, I'm looking at the chart now. It's like it goes like this, and then and it just takes a straight dive. So something happened around that time with a lot of other things. Industrial revolution. It's just like kicked off like this whole new human existence a little bit. And now we were kind of like riding that wave for a little bit, riding it. We're growing, innovation, things are happening, things are good. Yeah, let's invent this medicine, we'll take care of that problem. And that all this to say that kind of sets the stage a little bit for like where we are now, because like you were saying, we're trying to live in that like great American dream, quote unquote, kind of like time where things were great and things were happening. But now it's like it's just really fading quickly. The whole ability to even hold on to enjoy that type of lifestyle. It's not even possible anymore to do that anymore. It's not really possible. It's not a given. You have the ability to open up a bank account, to buy a house, but to really squeeze the
Okay.
juiciness out of all that.
Okay. I think Seth wants to take us somewhere here, but you've just triggered another thing I want to comment on.
He
So
wants you
I'll
to
do this
open
one
that
just
up.
quickly.
Take your time.
What is it? What is
Let's
it
see where this
that
goes.
because we just brought up this question of what is this level of the game, the 21st century, 20 since the beginning of the mid previous century, let's say. What is this new game that nature's playing with us, where we seemingly have control over, our own electricity, like when there's light on and when there's lights off, and how the advent of
Air
advanced
conditioning.
agriculture and all of that, and in the industrial society and everything. So what is this, as if took the human to a new kind of equation with regards to our attitude to nature, right? And so, Chris, what were you just saying at the end of your of just
You
a
can't
second
hold
ago?
on to it anymore. You can't hold on to it.
Yeah. So the okay, I'll save it. I'll save it. It's
Save
gonna be
it.
long. No,
Save it.
it's not. It's not.
Save it.
Let's
Save
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Look at that. He was so
It's
Okay,
creative.
just
well,
it's a
I don't have it.
fascinating thing that's happening right now, and I hope we can get to open it up.
So let's open it. Open it. It's good.
What does nature want from the human being? That's kind of the question that we are being forced to ask. Because look, if we had in the past, nature's forces were much more dominant in our evolution and in terms of restricting our ability to make decisions, to determine even what we do with our day,
You
right?
saw
I
that
mean,
in the
because
respect
people
that
had to survive.
civilizations had for nature.
Of
For,
course, of course, you see
ascribed all
that.
kinds of gods
Of
and
course, worshiping the sun, worshiping the moon, worshiping the stars, all that. Where does that come from? It comes from the people of the past had an inherent appreciation to nature and nature's forces. They understood they're in nature as a little part in a bigger thing, and the modern
We
man
were also
lost
much
that thing.
we were much closer to this attribute called the truth, which meant that if you were not born strong, you died. Like Chris said, most babies died. It's only because we mercifully save babies now with all of these things. If you were not strong, you died. Not only that, if you were strong, you dominated the ones who were not strong. So if you look at society, how society was structured, the people who were able to gather power and wealth collected taxes
Yeah.
from everyone else or ruled over everything was much more like the animal kingdom, and there was no such thing as like
it like
kind of
fell
these
into
like
place. You mean kind of?
mercy and justice. These came like much later. Everything was very close to nature, and even though it was not an easy life, you can't say that there was this kind of existential suffering because there was no other comprehension that there was anything else. You were born this creature, this kind of person, in this kind of place. You were never going to leave that place. This is how you lived. This is how you went through your life. And that's just what it is. If you were not the leader of the tribe, it's not like your teacher's like, Johnny, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Right.
I'm going to be the leader of my tribe. And every kid in the class wants to be the leader of the tribe. There's only one chief in the Indian
But then
tribe.
books started, printing press, and then people started getting impressed by ideas from this guy who wrote a book, on the other side of the world, and then it arrives in my house, and I start dreaming about things. I start getting inspired by things. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
So we started off very close to nature, and then as we developed, we all of these we inserted our new thoughts into the process and separated ourselves more and more from this kind of true, like for
And
example, no native people would build their home in the place that gets hit by a hurricane in Florida every single year. They would say, why would I spend 6 months building a home right here if next fall the same hurricane is going to come through and knock my house down again? They would say, why don't I move it to this area where actually gets some of the nice weather from it and gets the nice water for the crops, but actually doesn't knock my house over? But we can create insurance companies and build French drains and fire departments, and we can just keep putting our houses right in the path of the storm.
Yeah.
So to your
But
point,
Yeah.
another thing that's happening is that if now we are seemingly less dependent on the forces of nature, the amount of human disruption is becoming more and more dominant. That's an interesting thing that I think we can kind of see. The
Right.
most of our problems and troubles and what we feel dependent on is is the issues between us, the problems between us. The basically the human being has today everything he needs, it seems like it, to cope with nature. That's not a problem. If we, in terms of the know-how of today, human beings, if we wanted to, we can have a perfect life here on planet Earth. We can pretty much do by now with our technology everything that we need in order to be comfortable, to, when it's too hot outside, we have our nice air conditioning. We want food, we don't need to slave for it the whole day, go pick, go chase a mammoth or something like that. It's very simple, and we can even automate and robotize, I guess, like all of these things even more and more. And the only problem, the only real problem, the only force of disruption that we depend on comes from those frictions between us. It comes from our inability to just cooperate in a way that is stable, nice for everyone, good for everyone. You know, that's the thing that we seem to not be able to do, and all of that still comes from nature. That's the interesting thing. We are still in nature's plan, so nature is almost directing us to pay our attention to the relationship between us humans on this planet. This
Even
is
as you're saying
becoming.
it, that's so slippery. It's so
It is.
slippery. It's
It
like
is.
it's like a little. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, but he's a bad guy or something. That those thoughts still they still come in.
Yeah.
It's hard to it's hard to grasp that a little bit.
Okay, Seth. So where did you want to steer this? Because we have a
I
title
want
to
to talk about,
justify.
I want to talk about the upper. I want to talk
Yeah,
about the
yeah.
upper light. When we talk about nature as Kabbalists, we're using that. We're not talking about trees, although trees are part of nature, but everything is part of nature. We're talking about this integral system. You can use the word God, except we don't want to put a stumbling block in front, in people's ways in the conversation. And we typically say nature. We could say creator. We could say God. We could call it the integral force of nature. Guys, think of the time of the Vikings. Okay, remember the boats where all the guys would be in rows. Let's say like 25, like 50 guys on either side, and their oar would be sticking out the side, and they would row. You couldn't even see where they were going, but the guys would just row like that. So if you had only 6 guys, the boat would not be able to cross the sea. If you had 25 guys, the boat wouldn't be able to cross the sea. It takes a certain amount of guys rowing. And when you have that amount, one less, maybe you can't. Or maybe you can with one less. 5 less, you can't. You need a certain amount of human power together, and then the boat can cross the ocean. Okay? Now, you also need somebody who knows how to direct the thing. You need the boat. You need to
Yeah.
know where you're going. You need somebody to direct it. But without the human power, then you can't get to where you're going. So, in this simple way, I want to talk about what is the upper light that. Okay, let's see how we can make this connection here. Humanity, the future of humanity, is that we will start to be organized in groups together. Because if you took all of those men on that boat, but had them just wake up in the morning and do whatever they wanted to do,
Mm-hmm.
so that energy is scattered in all the directions.
Yep.
But if there is a direction and they know what they're doing, they put all their power together, they can cross an ocean. So this is where we find ourselves today. We all wake up in the morning and we're scattered. It doesn't mean that scattered meaning you go to work here and you go to work here. It doesn't matter what we actually do. If you're a
Right.
dentist and you're a trash man, that's not the point. The point is, where's our inner direction?
Right, like
We
somehow
need
the
A common
combined
goal.
potential, the combined efforts, the combined energy that we're putting in to this thing called human life on planet Earth is scattered. It's not
That's right.
channeled in a way that benefits the whole and pushes us
That's
towards our
right.
next level of development.
Right.
We okay, okay, yeah,
So,
that's
yeah,
yeah.
so humanity in the future needs to be organized in groups in a way that their inner desires can be directed towards revealing, we would call it in the wisdom of Kabbalah, towards revealing the creator. But what we mean is that you reveal yourself in a different kind of reality. Even if you're a dentist, it's not the same. It's not the same. Now, no matter what you're doing, you feel empty. Whatever your
Oh,
profession is,
okay,
whatever your
so
fam.
let's take a simple, example that Kabbalists use quite often, right? The human body. So you have trillions of cells. They're all doing very different things. That's not scattered, even though they're all in different cells and different functions in the body, and they even do opposite things. If you look at the human body, you have many conflicting forces and conflicting physiological mechanisms and others that are, if you looked at it, just one by one, you wouldn't think that all of these are actually working together. So from the perspective of what each individual piece does, it's very different, very unique. Every cell has a unique contribution, and yet what they're doing, there's not a single, if in a healthy body, every energy that the cells are expending is channeled in the same direction, even though they're doing very different things. And that is to maintain the homeostasis of the body, to allow for the higher level of consciousness to live, which is us. So, and what do we do with all of this amazing collaborative energy of the cells? Watch YouTube videos. Watch that. No, I
Bring
mean,
about Ben and Jerry's. The now
yeah,
Ben
but
and Jerry's burger.
no, but I'm saying again, if you look at the human body, it kind of gives you a perspective on how it's possible that you have many different functions and something that looks like scattered, but it's actually all moving in the same direction, all moving towards the same goal. So we're saying humanity needs to evolve to a point where our combined energy, our combined efforts are somehow collected and channeled in the same direction, right? That's that's essentially what we're talking about. Okay, now how do we
Okay,
move
so
towards the upper
what's it
light
called?
from this?
Perambulation?
Yeah.
What's it called when you
When you
walk?
um
Okay, walking.
like a
Anyway,
walk
so what
cycle?
happens? No, it's called parabol. I don't know what it's called. Somebody help us out here. Um,
What does it
so,
mean
like
though?
we
No,
said,
yeah, now I'm
it means like
curious.
walking, like your one leg goes backwards and the other
Yeah.
one goes forward, and the other one goes backwards and the other one
Yeah.
goes forward.
S-
So, what we
Okay.
talked about earlier, that women's rights turns into the internet being filled with OnlyFans or whatever it is, or the internet is invented and it goes towards nobody
Oscillation.
has any privacy. Okay, oscillation. It goes towards nobody has any privacy, and we all become slaves to the big, powerful internet companies who just direct all of our desires all day long.
Hmm.
Whatever it is that we thought we were going to invent the toaster oven and the washing machine, and we're all going to be free, right?
Right.
Nobody's free.
Hmm.
So, what does it mean that the upper light becomes a
Hmm.
remedy? What does it mean that
I would
But
say
wait a
I
second.
don't
Wait a second.
okay.
Wait a second. I've
Yeah,
got to
yeah,
interject
yeah,
because maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just
yeah.
me. But when Seth mentioned something like in order to reveal the I don't remember what he said, the upper four, like the common goal where where the energy is being directed. We had this nice build up, and then it was like, okay, yeah, we definitely need to change direction. We need purpose in life. Things aren't working out. Okay, good. We're gonna take all this energy because I do feel that we're like kind of everyone's like not in, they're in the human body, but no one's working for the human body.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now what? Like what do you mean? What is the human, the body? What is the goal, this higher goal or something that's like above the body
Yeah.
that we need
So
to
it's not
exist for
so
then?
it's not
That is
clear.
not
That's
clear
that's
still.
that's the thing. We're not gonna give some kind of like prophetic vision of the future because it's not clear what some 10-dimensional reality where every creature is completely fulfilled, like what that looks like. What I have like great clothes and like we just don't know what it means.
Wait.
So
You know what? Wait a second. Wait. Intermediate point before we go deeper, because just because we've said this example, you've said it a couple times, and maybe we should add some conclusion to it. So we've seen if we do have hindsight. Hindsight, can at least teach us something about patterns, something about human development, something about human nature. So, as you've pointed out, we some things started great and ended badly, or started as they looked like they're a solution. There's something good. It's like, yes, this is what we should aspire to. And today, 10 years later, 20 years later, we see the results of them in a bad way, or we see that they've evolved in a bad way. So what does this tell us? This tells us that we cannot trust just our human standards and our human intellect. There is some bigger plan in the reality that we're in. Let's call that nature. There is some other standard beyond what we think of as values of justice or truth or mercy, or whatever we think of. We come from a very it's based on a very limited perspective, and we need to somehow match our values, our goals, our aspirations with that bigger system that we're in. Can we agree on that?
Yeah,
Okay. So
already
now I
becoming
think
clear.
this sets us up to start understanding what is the upper light. What is this thing that Kabbalists refer to as, calibrating ourselves towards the influence of the upper light. So there is a bigger system, nature. It created us, not the other way around. And when we want to evolve, when we want to develop, when we want a better future for humanity, we need to start taking that into account. How? That's the question. But at least that is something we can already see from the past. We can't know what will be good for our development. We need to adapt our aspirations to something bigger.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so meaning the problem for which the solution is the upper light, the
Yeah.
problem is our inability to what correctly see the next
Our
step that we
goal.
want to take.
The problem's the goal. Our goals are not aligned with nature's goals.
And in order to have them
Simple as
aligned, there
that.
has to be some remedy called I don't know, called the upper light.
So
This
here we go into, well, okay. Now I just wanted the intermediate point. Seth had a different
okay.
plan, and
Okay, I feel
I
more
think we're
comfortable now that
we're
that's been set up a little bit. I feel a little bit
okay.
better.
Okay,
Okay. Yeah,
Seth,
yeah.
keep going, keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, so uh, by the way, like don't think that you're derailing it. Like wherever you want to
Okay.
open it, we should go. There's no strict path here.
Yeah.
S- Every time, so every car that's on the highway, you
Mm-hmm.
buy. Every time you put on your brakes, you're creating friction. So you're on the highway. For everyone outside the United States, let's say going 60 kilometers an hour. Everyone inside the U.S., going 55 miles per hour, whatever it is. You put your brakes on. When you put your brakes on, what happens is you create friction. You have to press against the spinning disc to slow it down from spinning. Alternatively, when we want to create electricity, it's exactly the thing. We need to spin something up fast in order to create that friction. So basically, what it means is every single time we are putting the brakes on in our car, we are just free energy, just like floating away. Energy that could power our cars, energy that could do all kinds of stuff is just floating away. And all day long, with the millions and tens of millions of cars on the highways all around, I'm sure hybrid cars do this now, and probably the Tesla and other cars do this now, that every time it brakes, that
It's
friction
called
is
regenerative
charging.
braking. Yeah.
Regenerative braking, thank you. So is recharging the battery. But for all the tens of millions or hundreds of millions, however many cars are out there, they're all just wasting all of that energy. It's just going
Continuously.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Endlessly wasting
That's a great
energy.
example.
So
That's a great
it's
example.
one small example. We could find dozens of places in our life where we want some outcome, but we do something that totally is the opposite to what we want. We want, it to be cheaper to fill our car, and we throw away half the energy that the car creates, or whatever percent of the energy that the car creates. So we have to at least begin. People always ask in the wisdom of Kabbalah, like, it's all about feeling love, but why are you making me study stuff? Like I'm studying stuff, but the studying doesn't actually bring me to spiritual attainment. So, there is the mind and the heart, and we have to, the goal is to feel connected and loved and fulfilled. In the meantime, to get there, we have to understand what we're dealing with in order that we can develop ourselves.
Makes
We
sense.
need to understand what forces we're dealing with. All day long, we're given forces. All of us are dealing with, we all feel crap in our lives. Every person wakes up, even if you had a great day yesterday, something happens today. And it doesn't have to be tragic. It doesn't at all need to be tragic. You could be feeling great, but something eventually happens, and we need to start understanding, and not just from a psychological perspective or how to turn lemons into lemonade perspective, but to attach it like the Vikings who got across the ocean, not just attach it to myself, that I learn how to turn bad into good in my own life, but understand what is life feeding at us and why, and actually start to feel that the things that are coming towards us disrobe the garments that are clothing the light. Really, what's coming towards us is light that's organizing us.
Oh, okay. So we're let's just go
We're going there.
right in there and answer try to define what is this upper light that we refer to as the remedy for humanity, as the title of
Think
our
about it, so
episode.
for everyone, but just before you start, think about it like energy is coming through the car,
Yeah.
right? And every time you brake, you lose half of it, or what, I don't know, 30%, whatever it is, right? So this upper light is coming into our lives,
Yeah.
and we just
Okay. Let's say
Wait a second.
let's.
disregard it. Just
What
let
does
it
it
all
mean
go.
coming to? Chris, go ahead.
Before you get off the traffic, before you get off the car example,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard of something called like phantom traffic, basically is what it is, where like there's no emergency up ahead, there's no crash, there's no bumper bender, there's nothing. It's just one person taps the brakes, taps and keeps going. But what happens is it causes the person behind them to also just do a little tap. But it's not just that person then, it's actually like a couple people that actually have to tap because this guy was a little bit too close to this car. And then so it's like then two
And
people
now
are
there's
like
like a
trying to tap it.
cumulative exponential effect.
And then like at 10 miles back, there's like bumper to bumper traffic. And it's just like, for a couple seconds, it's like everyone's at a complete stop and then everyone starts going again. And people were like, what is going on? People wanted to research. First of all, traffic just drains the life out of you. So, anything that hurts us, we want to research and understand what's going on and how can we remedy it. But
So that's
what
how
they
the
found out. They
research
found
calls it. phantom traffic.
Phantom traffic or something like that. I can't remember. Phantom something. But that's what it is. It's basically what is it? Is that we're not in sync. People are just kind of doing their own thing on the road.
Okay,
and-
okay. Let's try to let's
Yeah.
try to stay with that analogy. Okay, I mean,
I don't know what the,
cl-
I don't know
close
this
to
means-
it.
What this means. Hybrid vehicles have 60 to 70% efficiency with their regenerative braking. Like, and what
So
Chris
40
is
to
saying,
30% is still wasted.
what Chris is saying is like the opposite direction. Like we're the same thing. Like these, like so much energy just gets wasted because we're not using the system.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's apply the traffic and transportation kind of example to humanity's spiritual development. So all of us are on the road, all human beings, not just from today, but from all of time, right? From all the thousands of years of human development. You know, for us, it seems like bodies that live and die. From a spiritual perspective, there's really just one collective entity, non-material collective entity. We call it the collective soul, and all of us are pieces of it, parts of it, and it is developing, it is moving. So there are all kinds of stretches of road that we have to go through, and we call them periods in human history. But essentially, the road is already there from the beginning to end, and it's very clear what is the path we're going to go through. From nature's point of view, everything is already set. Evolution has its destination, and even all the steps on the way. And we're now just moving there. So the upper light means now, as you've all said, there's this. Seth was saying there's this force that comes to our life. This upper light, let's call it the nature's program, the evolutionary pressure, the impetus to advance. It's the same force that ultimately develops the still to the vegetative, to the animate, to the human. That is also the same force that develops us to our next level of development, that develops us spiritually. So that force is pushing everyone to move forward, right? But there comes a point in our development as conscious beings that we're able to hit the gas in a collaborative fashion, so we get out of the traffic of our own accord and we move faster. Same route, same road, same destination. We can't change all of that. That's already embedded in nature. But our conscious participation on the road, we can somehow change that, relate to it differently, so that we move through the road not just faster, but also smoother. No car accidents, no traffic jams. We can just move forward and fast and reach our destination. That is what we need a GPS for. That is what we need Waze for. We need to understand where to go, and we all need to have it in our cars so we can collaborate effectively. In a similar way, we are talking about spiritual development. If human beings begin to somewhat tap the gas in the right way at the right time in coordination with the others, meaning focus on our spiritual development, we begin to move to where nature is pushing us already. And that means that we shorten the amount of friction that we need. That means, in a Kabbalistic spiritual context, that means that we are attracting the next level of our development into the present. Or we also call this being more influenced by the upper light, attracting the upper light, meaning we want to go to where it is already pushing us of our own accord. We want to go there.
In the past, generations, when we talked about when things were closer to nature, and you had slave owners and slaves, or little fiefdoms, or all these different things, most people were just carried by whoever the kind of leaders were. That's just how it how it was. Most people weren't quote unquote significant in the way that we are today. This is not like a moral thing. It just talks about, we have to understand that all humanity develops as a single organism. And so now, because of this fractionating, this process that we've gone through, today every single person has a job to do, and it doesn't mean that it's an equal job. In this is where we're all equal. Each one, if you're only capable of doing one thing, that's all you need to do. But you need to do it
So
fully.
so so to complete it, to put it into the analogy, so maybe it's like in the past there weren't as many cars. A lot of people were just, carried by, like, there were a few drivers, and most of the people were just carried in the carts that, with those few drivers. Today everyone has a car. There's many, many, many cars, but everyone just has to do a little thing in order for all of us to move forward efficiently. And we can, otherwise we get really stuck in traffic.
This is like the Viking analogy that
Yeah.
we need to add our efforts now. There's already this upper light that's guiding the process.
Yes.
We don't think that we need to invent some internet or invent some women's rights or invent this. The goal is for a complete, perfect, harmonious existence for everyone.
And nature knows how to make it happen. This is the one thing that we're missing as humans. Nature, look at other levels of nature, of course. Look at organisms. Look at how nature works. Look at homeostasis.
Yosemite,
look at ecosystems.
Look at the majesty of the eagles,
of course,
and the waterfalls, and the wolves, and
and nature knows how to do harmony. This is nature's job. It knows how to do it. Nature is the designer of harmony. Basically, that's what nature is. And we need to somehow tap into that. That's what it means to draw the upper light.
We have tapped into it. Sometimes we get examples. I don't know. I'm just like thinking of a few examples right now. Like, I love basketball. I'm not like a soccer guy, but you can have like the best, like LeBron James or whatever, right? And you can see that he can be on whatever team, and sometimes they just suck. He's the best player, like in the NBA, you could easily say, but there's something that happens when you have like this synergy, like this coordination between the players on the court at one time.
Like that Michael Jordan team.
Each other. Yeah, it's like not everyone's a Michael Jordan, right? But everyone has their place, and everyone feels what that place is. And when they play their part, they can do stuff on the court that not
Emergent
just one single
stuff.
person can do, and that's what causes them to, win or bring a victory or whatever. But there's so many other examples. I mean, just looking at like how, I mean, you can even go to like singing. Like you have one person who sings this type of has this type of voice, soprano. I don't know, not soprano. Whatever, different levels of like
high and low
the
pitch
ability of people's
volumes.
voices. You bring them together, and it creates something completely different. And it's pleasing to the ear, right? And it's also kind of interesting to think about, like, why is it pleasing to the ear? There's like some kind of like spiritual root there happening. Like even what's pleasing to the eye as well.
It's like if there's a sufficient amount of people singing, and they're all singing at the same time, even if some of them are off tune, somehow it all merges into a harmony. It's interesting. With wisdom of the crowd could be another thing. Swarm intelligence. I mean, you look at those amazing, unbelievable, murmurations. They're called, like what starlings do. Like 100,000 starlings. Like on its own. Not to insult anyone, but it's a stupid bird. I mean, it's not very intelligent. It's not on its own. It doesn't do that much. But you put 100,000 starlings together, and somehow they become. You see this shape-shifting organism in the sky that knows how to like avoid the predators or use the currents of the wind in a very smart way, and it's how does that happen, and this all comes from somehow these very simple, not very intelligent individual things. Through their connection, they're tapping into a higher mind, nature's mind, a higher plan, a higher level of life, a higher level of evolution. And that is where we are going as human beings,
We
except we
we
have
see
to
that in our society
participate
today.
consciously. Yeah.
We don't have these giant figures anymore. If we look around, society used to be filled with
Right.
these
Isn't it
huge
so
movie
obvious
star.
in politics? I mean, this is so, what you're saying right now is just so, I just thought about it. Like in the past, at least even just a few years ago, you could still, I mean, I don't know, like Kennedy, you know, like people still appreciated him, like in America, right? And even outside of it, there's like,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people respected him. I don't even
Right. Like
think
noble.
that
Yeah.
exactly noble, like a role model today. It's like, you know, what do I choose? Like it's this thing or it's that thing, and this thing said these things, and you know, that's the history of that, and this thing, where does that even come from? You
I'm choosing
know?
something, ultimately, I'm choosing
It's
something
like
that represents something else. It's not the person himself,
the
you're saying. It's like a
the
representation of like a
time of,
ideology.
yeah, the time of gurus, role models, you know, leaders, great kings, you know, role
Right.
models. In short, it's like it's like gone. There's like
But those were
no.
such more simpler times. It felt that's like
Yeah.
easy to do that. It's easy to like to do, and now it's like not. It's not feasible. There's no.
We've
It's
come
like
to
the sensation that
Yeah.
that's gonna be successful is not there. Yeah.
Yeah, I
we
think
came
you
to a
just touched
time.
on something that is really a nerve. Yeah, I think people feel this. I think so.
This is the time where the big famous whatever, it's the light, it's the upper light that is working through each one, and everyone becomes equal. Not everyone has the same bank account, not everyone is good basketball player as everyone else, but each one has their role in the thing. And as the light moves through each one, we don't lose all that energy like we talked about without the regenerative braking.
Hmm.
That light gives everyone what we need, and instead of constantly feeling empty and crap, we allow it to guide us. We have to, and the thing that we need to understand in our generation now is that we start to understand it emotionally when we get closer to each other, when we start
Hmm.
connecting with others who are at least recognize it at first, when we start connecting with them, that light becomes revealed between us, starts to guide us all more correctly, starts to guide our hearts more correctly, starts to give us more understanding correctly. And there is no need for some famous leader to do anything, but that from our connection together and the light operating through us, we're led and guided. And that's how we all come to a safe, comfortable, good future for everyone.
Yeah. One more note on that for those who may be wondering. I mean, it doesn't cancel the idea of people teaching, leading, helping, facilitating altogether. It just means that if there's a leader in the future, any kind of leader in any kind of human engagement, his focus is going to be how to connect the people, everyone, how to connect everyone. And otherwise, they're not going to be able to lead anything, because the way forward that nature put before us is to be able to use this upper light that exists in this connectedness between us. And that is what leads us to the next level of evolution.
Evolution.
Ooh,
Ooh,
all right.
all right.
We're right on the hour now. Um,
That's it then. Uh, Big hug to everybody. We're checking out all of your comments, even
Yes, by the
these
way, and
wild.
Sof and Marisa both asked some questions about where nature is evolving us towards. Well, I hope we answered that, but yeah, if not, throw another question in the comments and we'll do
Uh,
our
we're
best next
con-
time.
we're
Yeah.
constantly checking over here and seeing what you guys are writing and trying to include that into our conversations here.
And
Thank
I'd
you
like
all
to
very
do a
much.
Q&A one time too, by the way. Man, I'm just throwing that out there. Maybe we do that every once in a while. It's been a while where we
Yeah,
get, I don't know how
maybe
many viewers we
soon,
had.
maybe
Maybe we get
soon.
that's
If
yeah.
if the world doesn't bring us good excuses for topics to talk about.
Right,
And
right.
let's do a Q&A session. Yeah. All right.
Okay, until then, we'll be back Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, friends.
Yeah, guys.
Nightmare we be facing, wake up. Tell me how we gonna overcome. Wake up. From the hatred and separation, wake up. Get up with love. Wake up. Wake up. Tell me what is happening with our nation. Wake up. It seems our union's been overrun. Wake up. Wake up. We got a sticky situation. Wake up. The time is now to get stuck on love. Wake up. We got to find a new way to love. Call it now together. We've been trying to fix our ways. Please help us change our nature. We want to live in love and unity. Wake up, wake up, friends. We ain't got no time for wasting. Wake up, rise and shine the light of love. Wake up, wake up. Been told the times that we can't hasten. Wake up, let's connect our hearts to be as one. Wake up, wake up. Fill every cup and raise them higher. Wake up, in gratitude for what's to come. Wake up, wake up. And feel the friends burning desire. Wake up, brother, to the altitude of love. Wake up. We got to find a new way to love. Call it out together. We've been trying to fix our ways. Please help us change our nature. We want to live in love and unity. Call it out together. We've been trying to fix our ways. Help us change our nature. We want to live in love and unity.